So hello and welcome to another episode of Car Lube. I'm your host, James Gordon Foxwell, and in this episode I'm going to show you what an M button does and how to configure it. On with the show. You see that M button there on the steering wheel? Yes, there it is. Many people ask, what is this button for? Does it make the car faster? In answer to that question, yes, it can do, but there is much more to it than that. In a nutshell, the M button is simply a way to simultaneously implement several key settings at the push of a button, alleviating the need to separately adjust multiple buttons. So, in other words, it's a way to reduce the amount of time needed to dial in the implemented preferred combination of settings. You can have a choice of settings for the suspension electronic damper control, EDC for short, adjust the ferocity of the gear change in manual or auto, weighten up the steering wheel feel, adjust the traction control to allow little or more slip, and create a faster response from the actuators when you slam your foot deep into the carpet. The beauty of the M button is you can configure whichever setting suits your driving desire quickly and easily once you've had a tinker in the iDrive settings. So now we know what the purpose for the button is, let's take a look at the configurable options. So we go down to settings, press OK, and you can see here right at the top we've got the M drive, so we go into that. So these are my settings that I have on my M button, configured to the way I like it to be. The engine is off at the moment, and as such we can't change any of the settings that are on here. So let's go ahead, switch the engine on and go from there. Now that the engine is running, we can see that the options have highlighted as opposed to being darkened out. And we go into the drive logic. This is the ferocity of the gear change, which basically every time you put it into M mode, it goes into S5, or if we click on it, D5. Now D5 is drive and S5 is manual on the paddles. Okay, so I have mine to go into manual mode whenever I press the M button. On the EDC, this is the electronic damper control for the suspension. We can go into there and we can have it for comfort, which is what the car ordinarily will start in without pressing any buttons. You can have it in normal, which would give you one light on the EDC button, and sport, which will give you the firmest setting, and that will give you two lights on the EDC button. So we've got that in sport already. DSC, now this is the I have my DSC on, but you can put it in MDM mode, which if you click on that one there, when you press the M button, you'll get a little caption come up, which is just there. So we know it's in M mode now, and we also know it's in MDM mode. That mode will basically give us the maximum amount of slip, but it will also rein you in if you completely balls up the drift. Power. Now this one is the one that basically activates the throttle actuators to be ready to go. So when you're moving along and you press the M button, you'll notice the engine revs will slightly rise when you press that M button when you're in Sports Plus, because it's basically readying the actuators. It doesn't give you any more power, but what it does do is it just makes the accelerator more responsive to you slamming it to the floor. So obviously I have that in Sports Plus, which is okay, good. Servotronic, this is the steering response. So normally when you start off it will be in normal mode and the steering wheel will be nice and light, but when you put the M button on, I've got it to go to sport, which will basically weighten up the steering wheel, and I like that on my car. Shift lights on, that's usually switched on, I'm not sure why that is. A shift light will come on along the top of the rev counter there to basically show you when to change. And that is the settings. Very easy to sort out. So just to recap, the M button on its own without being configured isn't a button that you can press that will give you manual mode or Sport Plus mode, or stiffen up the suspension. It is exactly what you set it up to be. So if you found this video helpful at all, please give it a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. There will be an enormous amount of fabrication required, leaving no screw unturned. We're going to lob an E46 S54 M3 engine under the bonnet, utilise E36 M3 and Z3 suspension components under the car, slap on lots of carbon fibre and genuine M3 steel panels, occupy the interior with a half roll